בבקשה.
Mr. Prime Minister, my name is Fabian Weisbart. I work at AJC's office in Berlin, one of 4, soon to be 5 offices in Europe. As a non-Jew, I'm a proud supporter of Israel because I strongly believe it embodies my personal liberal European values. So I'm really glad that one of our top priority issues from AJC is strengthening the relationship between the European Union and Israel. So what can you share with us about the greatest opportunities and challenges in the German-European-Israeli relationship?
I think that the leadership of Germany understands that Israel is a bastion of freedom, of values that ultimately are what define our societies. I think they also understand, though I'm not sure the public understands, that Israel is essentially keeping the western part of the Middle East intact and preventing the tragedy of ISIS from sweeping many, many more millions in the region. And the consequence would be that they would flee the region, and they would flee, obviously, to Europe and to Germany. So Israel, in many ways, is the guardian of many European values, and in many ways, the guardian of Europe in this most volatile part of the world. This doesn't mean we see eye to eye in everything. We have occasional debates, but I think this underscores the fundamental relationship.
And on a European level, what do you think are the greatest challenges and opportunities?
I think the greatest challenge is the attempt to delegitimize Israel on the one side and the growing awareness in some circles on the other side that Israel performs this vital function for the protection of, essentially the protection of Europe in the heart of the Middle East. The most peculiar thing is that there's been a much greater and more positive change of the view of Israel among the Arab states here. Many of the Arab leaders and governments understand that Israel is not their enemy, but their ally in the battle against Islamist militancy, either the Shiite led by Iran or the Sunni led by Daesh. Okay, and so they now see Israel as their partner, and they want to work with Israel. There is in Europe the challenge of this strange and unholy alliance between radical Islamists and the radical ultra-left. I think it's not good for Europe, and I think it's not good for peace.
I am Shani Ben Walid. I work in AGC Paris office. As you know, in recent years, many French Jews have decided to leave the country because of rising anti-Semitism. What messages do you have for my friends and me, Jews, who decide to stay in France, at least for now?
Look, every Jew should have the right to live everywhere, anywhere, in peace and tranquility and security. That's critical, and I think the French government, successive French governments, have stood up for that, and rightly so. But every Jew also has another right, the right to come to the state of Israel, because Israel is and will continue to be the home of every Jew who wants to come here. The choice is your choice. It's an individual choice. That is something you have to decide for yourself. But for those Jews who decide from anywhere in the world to come to Israel, this is what Israel is about. It's the home of any Jew who wants to come. You decide.
I will.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. My name's Ella Goldberg, and I work here in the AJC Jerusalem office. And I proudly made the decision to make Aliyah over 7 years ago from the U.S.
Good for you.
Thank you very much. But many of my friends and family still remain back in the U.S. And recently, they've been asking me about current events here and everything that's been going on, and asking about coalition politics and the nature of it and the changes that we can see.
You really want to know?
Well, I was hoping actually that you could provide some insight into the recent changes and what that means for the future of Israel.
Look, I think Israel needs a wide, broad, stable government. We have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of opportunities. I asked the Zionist camp to enter the government. I still leave the door open for them to do it. I'm broadening the government with the other party of Mr. Lieberman, but we all agree the more the better. So I hope we have the broadest government possible. But our policy will be to pursue peace with security and to see if we can use the regional opportunities to advance a workable solution with the Palestinians. Domestically, I think we're going to continue the same way. Israel is a vibrant democracy. It'll continue. The very fact that we have all this angst and discussion is a reflection of our freedom. It's a reflection of our, our unstinted debate. Do you ever go into the Knesset?
Yes, of
Yeah?
course.
Yeah?
Yesterday I was there
Okay.
actually and heard you speak.
So the one thing you don't have a problem there is for people to voice their opinions. This is a free, raucous, rambunctious democracy, free press,
Right.
which always supports me. That you should laugh. I mean, this is a real democracy, and will always continue to be a real democracy. You should be absolutely confident about that.
Mr. Prime Minister, my name is Janice Smith, and I'm the Regional Director for the American Jewish Committee in Los Angeles. California, as you know, is home to many college campuses where we've recently witnessed attempts to isolate and demonize Israel through BDS, boycott, divestment, and sanctions, and the building of anti-Israel coalitions. AJC works with pro-Israel students from across the country to combat this discriminatory movement. What would you say to pro-Israel students who are entering or re-entering university campuses this fall?
I don't think the BDS is a threat to Israel in economic terms, but I think there's a moral outrage here. The so-called progressives are actually regressive because they're attacking the one democracy, imperfect. Show me the perfect democracy, okay? Tell me a society that has no flaws. Warts and all, Israel is a beacon of freedom and liberty and pluralism in the heart of a very dark region. And who did they choose to apply the BDS to in those campuses? North Korea, Iran, Syria, Hamas, Hezbollah, no, Israel, the one democracy. So it's outrageous. I think you should fight it, even though it's not going to have the economic impact that these people think. You should fight it. And these people are not opposed to this or that Israeli policy. When you look at the roots of the BDS movement and what guides it, they're opposed to Israel, period. And I think forward-looking people who are concerned with justice, people who are concerned with human rights should oppose BDS.
My name is Daniel Silver, and I work for AJC's Asia Pacific Institute, which was founded over 25 years ago now. In recent years, we've established deeper relations in Asia, on the ground in Tokyo and in New Delhi and beyond. Israel, too, has established greater relations with Asia. Where do you see the greatest potential of the Israel-Asia relationship?
What do I expect in the future? It's going to increase substantially, both by government design, but just by the nature of markets, the nature of technology. Everybody's coming here because Israel is the innovation nation. If you're any one of these economies, not only in Asia, anywhere in the world, the future belongs to those who innovate. Technology is seeping into every single place, into your cars, into your refrigerators, into your bicycles, anything. And Israel is the place where it's happening. We don't have, for example, an automotive industry. We never produce a chassis or an engine, right? But you use Waze. You know what Waze is? Sure. Yeah? Well, it's made in Israel, okay? And Waze was sold for $1 billion just to Google, okay? Cheap, okay? There's another company that is now developing in Jerusalem the technology for driverless cars, okay? Okay, it's now worth $10 billion. That's automotive industry. Well, the Japanese are looking into it. The Chinese are looking into it. Everyone's looking into it. So that is happening, but it's especially happening with Asia. And there's one other thing, that Israel is in a strategic crossroads. And if you want to move goods from east to west, and especially to Europe, we're going to build a railway between our Red Sea port in Eilat and Ashdod. And that's another link, not to replace the Suez Canal, but to add to it. And that, I can tell you that Asian powers are very much interested in that. So for a variety of reasons, I think the relationship between Israel and Asia is expanding very rapidly and will continue to do so.
Coming from opportunities to challenges, during our many conversations in Berlin or elsewhere, officials have raised questions about the sincerity of Israel's commitment to the two-state solution.
You mean my sincerity? They always say, you're such a diplomat.
But maybe, what can you share with us to help address these
So
concerns?
there's simple, look, if you repeat something something false, if you repeat it again and again and again and again, it assumes the appearance of self-evident truth, okay? But there's an acid test, okay? I call on President Abbas, I just did the other day, to meet me directly and begin negotiations without preconditions. How do you get peace? You get peace by having the two sides of the conflict sitting around the table and working out their differences, right? And it always involves some kind of mutual compromise. But you have to sit around the table. I must have called him hundreds of times. And I did so the other day vis-a-vis the question of a Paris conference. I said to Prime Minister Valls of France, I said, I have a better initiative for you. Not an international diktat of people who don't share, the consequences of decisions, but the two parties together. I mean, invite Abu Mazen and myself to a direct negotiations without preconditions in Paris. Paris is a good place to meet. Nothing against Germany, but I said here's a different French initiative that could be very good. Well, of course, Abu Mazen didn't respond. He's never responded to my calls for direct negotiations. So here's the acid test of those who want to advance towards peace or not. Who's willing to meet right away without any negotiations about the negotiations? Just meet and begin to negotiate. I'm willing to do so immediately, and unfortunately the Palestinian leadership is not. And that's the truth. And by the way, if you get Abu Mazen to come to a side of your choosing,
I will try.
I will come.
Mr. Prime Minister, moving away from the conflict for a moment, I wanted to share that last year I was actually not able to get married in the state of Israel because we don't currently recognize non-Orthodox
Did you get married?
marriages. I did get married.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much. In the U.S., actually, I took my Israeli husband. We went to Boston, and we had a civil ceremony there that was later recognized back here. And then we had a ceremony with a non-Orthodox rabbi here in Israel that wasn't recognized. So as you know, AJC does believe that religious pluralism should be a matter of national security for Israel. And we've heard you speak a lot on this issue in the recent past. I'm wondering what you feel the prospects are for all streams of Judaism to be recognized here in Israel.
Well, I'll say two things which I think are undeniable facts. The first is that the various denominations are making their presence felt and their activity increase in Israel over the years. That's very clear. It's changing. Second is my own commitment to have Israel be the home of every Jew. This doesn't mean that we resolved every problem. This is a very difficult problem. It'll ultimately, we'll have to figure out a way that is mutually acceptable to the people, or many people in Israel and the Jews around the world. It's not an easy thing to do. I recognize that. But I think that we should strive for this vision that makes Israel the home of every Jew. And while we can't solve all the problems, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't keep on moving to give that feeling to you and to everyone else who wants to make Israel their home.
Mr. Prime Minister, you alluded previously to the U.S.-Israel relationship, and in recent years, some have contended that unbreakable bond between the United States and Israel has begun to fray at the seams, including some heightened partisan differences, and with the potential for long-term consequences and implications. How do you see it?
I think bipartisan support for Israel is crucial. I have one rule. In this room, any delegation of senators or members of Congress who come to Israel, literally without exception, I mean, unless I'm engaged in, maybe I'm abroad or maybe I'm involved in some security issues, but that's a rule. I get complaints from Knesset members that I meet with members of Congress more often than I meet with them, which is, never mind. We're not going to test that proposition, but I think it has some merit. And I meet with Democrats and Republicans alike because I value that bipartisan cooperation. Sometimes not everyone is aware of the facts on the ground here in Israel, and we have to work to persuade people to see the truth. I don't need to present a false image of Israel. I want to present the real facts of Israel. You know, the militant Islamists, they say so many horrible things, but they say one thing. They say, we hate Israel because Israel is a small America. They say, for us, in the larger picture, we are you and you are us. And you know, on this one, they actually have that right. That part they got right. So I think it's important to communicate that to all parts of the American people. And we've had a tremendous relationship. We've not always agreed. You know, we had disagreements on the Iran deal because I thought, you know, the deal should have been structured not on a calendar. I wanted to reduce that is to condition the reduction or the lessening of constraints on Iran's nuclear program, not by calendar year, but by change of Iranian behavior, that they stop their aggression in the region, which concerns all the countries in the region, that they stop the export of terrorism beyond the region, even to the world. We had a difference. It can happen between friends, but it's between friends. And it's the greatest friendship we have. And we have to work hard to make sure that it continues.
AJC has brought more than 6,000 influentials to Israel through our Project Interchange program from all across the world, including Asia, Africa, and other places. However, we're constrained with the number of people that we can have on these trips. So what do you think about which regions or which countries or places around the world that we should focus on for these Project Interchange trips?
I think that you should bring in the people who will shape the future of the world. The world should look at it, because ultimately Israel is in a global relationship. Our relations with the countries of the world is changing based on their perception of where the world is going and where their own countries are going. The greatest opportunities for us are with the influential countries, I would say, or groups of countries that see that Israel can be a tremendous asset to them. And I think the more people see the advantages to a relationship with Israel, the stronger those relations become. And by the way, here's a peculiar thing. When the relationship becomes stronger because of economic reasons or security reasons and so on, then you'll begin to see a shift for a more practical understanding of our security problems, of the realities of the political situation. That's the way the world really works, you know. And so Israel is now, remember, Israel is 68 years old. We were 600,000 people on a beachhead here, barely surviving. We've become a global powerhouse of technology, the innovation nation. We have a very strong military that not only protects our own people, but in many ways keeps our part of the region stable. And we fight terrorism and share our intelligence with other countries. So a lot of countries are beginning to appreciate that, and Israel is going out to the world. There's an attempt to isolate us through BDS, and there is this reality that I just described of common interest that is creating tremendous opportunities for us in every continent. You should look at the places where the greatest interest is for the greatest partnership. And I've given you enough clues. If you can't figure this out, then what I've said is irrelevant.
Well, I can tell you right now that we have a delegation here in Israel from India and a group of university presidents. So we have a group from China coming in August. So.
Well, that's strange that you'd say that, you know. I'd say you're in the right direction. Thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a great job. You've been doing great stuff. I have to say that I appreciate the leadership that you have shown, that David Harris has shown, in a way that I think is enviable and admirable. And thank you.